meaning no harm. Each time I never saw any trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curves, flattening the hills. Someday the mountain might get them, but the law never will. Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the normal allowed. Just a good old boy.
I am Steve, affectionately, most of the time known as Charger Steve, and the reason being is because I own one of the General Lees from the Dukes of Hazzard, and so I want to document everything that I know about the car, so that well beyond my days here, there'll be some documentation as to what I know about the car. I don't think there's anyone on the planet that knows more about the car than I do, or at least its time as the General Lee in the Dukes of Hazzard. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what we know about the car, what we don't know, what it was used for, or what it wasn't. Dukes of Hazzard ran from, let's see, 79 to 85. I know a lot about the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm not a complete and total guru, so some of my memory may not be as sharp as it should be. So if I mix up some dates or some information, I'm actually looking to some of you to help fill in some of the gaps. And maybe there's some people out there who know some bits and pieces that might help build the story and fill in the gaps, things that I'm not sure about. So anyway, I was a big Dukes of Hazzard fan, and a lot of people ask me, how did you get the car? How did you get the car? That is among the top questions for sure. And guess what? I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to save that for the end of the video. So if you're interested in how I got the car, it's a fabulous story, and I will tell you at the very end. In the meantime, what I will tell you is what I got, its condition, what I did to it since I've had it, and all of those good things, so that it's just documented. So I received the car in 2008, and with the car I received a title, and the car was titled to Warner Brothers, and I remember this distinctly. I had a Warner Brothers title. Probably not too many have cars that were titled to Warner Brothers, and it was cool. And you guys are going to kill me because this isn't the first time in this video that I'm going to tell you I'm so disorganized that I lose things, I can't find stuff. I'm terrible. And unfortunately, I probably misplaced a ton of really valuable stuff from the Dukes of Hazzard and from the car. And I was so excited to get the car that I took the title to the DMV because I so badly wanted to put it in my name, and I didn't even think to take a picture of it. So all that there is my memory. Now, I never tried to look up the history of the car. They know they have a lot of facts checking on cars, and I would imagine that would tell you what years the car belonged to Warner Brothers. Now, I can tell you that I remember that the car was titled to Warner Brothers in 1994. So that tells us a couple of things. There's a lot of magazines out there, there's a lot of documentation, there's a lot of videos. When it comes to the General Lee, it seems like everyone is an expert. Everybody knows how many, everyone knows what it was, what color it is, you know, everyone's an expert. But there's a lot of misinformation out there. So we're gonna try to confirm or deny some of the things that are said about the car. One of the most exciting things about the car was this magazine, and it's called the Mopar Collector's Guide. And in August of 2005, they put out an episode that talks about each and every car that was used in the '05 movie. Now, it also talks about the history of those cars prior to the movie, and there are a number of cars, I'm going to say 3 to my knowledge, that they claim were used in the TV show. And this is one of them. This, in the Mopar guide, it's August 05. I believe you can still order these. This car is referred to as car number 3. And I'm going to go ahead and read to you. And I'm going to do a lot of reading today because we're going to be checking these facts to see if they make sense or if they don't. One of the other cars that they claim was from the TV show was car number 2. So I'm going to read a little bit about car number 2 and car number 3, which they are referring to this car right here. Now, they also mention the VIN, and so that's okay to mention. The VIN to car number 3 is 236509, and that matches what's imprinted on the crossbar under the hood of this car. So they refer to car number 3 here. The VIN matches what we have here in the garage, so that we know for sure. But we're going to read a little bit about car number 2 before I read about car number 3. All right, so let's take a look at car number 2. It says post-Cooter Hero cars. Number 2, along with some other vehicles, is the most historic vehicle of the fleet. Number 2 is the original Hero General Lee, which was used in the television series. Both of the made-for-television reunion movies and now the big screen movie. So, I am going to doubt that information, and the reason why is because when I go to the next page and read about car number 3, there's some conflicting information. The short story on car number 3, which is the car you see behind me, generally used in the series, both reunion movies, before being sent to Burt Dalton of B&D Special Effects, who joined forces with JEM Effects and their facility. It was in Southern California for conversion into an RDV, and we are going to talk about RDV as we go along. This small block powered car was an original 69 model. It arrived wearing its General Lee paint. But since the pre-Cooter version Charger was needed for filming, first it was painted in the rough paint scheme immediately upon arrival in Baton Rouge. Car number 3 was built in the effects shop in California, painted in Baton Rouge, and was used extensively throughout filming. Number 3 was the very last General Lee to leave Baton Rouge in mid-February 2005, which was fitting because it had been the first to arrive. So, since I got a title that tells me that the car was purchased by Warner Brothers in 1994, and the series ended in 1985, the information in the Mopar guide cannot be correct. So, unless they purchased the General Lee back in the 80s, used it as a General Lee in the Dukes of Hazzard, then sold it to a private party and bought it back in 1994, and that is just highly unlikely. So the Mopar guide, I'm going to question all of the information in it, and you should question all the information you read because it's not always true. Now, there are some facts that are real. I don't know if it was the first car to arrive and the last car. I was never on the set. I'm assuming that is the case. It is a 1969 Charger. The VIN is correct, but it could not have been used in the series. What I do know is that the first reunion movie came out in 1997, and it was definitely used in that movie. It was used significantly, and it was the most driven car by John Schneider. From what I understand, John Schneider loved this car, and this was the car that he used primarily and drove in the reunion movie of 1997. Now, it was also used in the Dukes Go to Hollywood. That was the second reunion movie, again with the original cast, and it kind of played second fiddle in that movie. It wasn't used nearly as much because John Schneider, who played Bo Duke, actually brought his own General Lee. He brought his own Charger for that film, and so he primarily used that car in the second movie, but it was still used a fairly decent amount. Now, back during those reunion movies, this car was called GL02. GL02. It was actually car number 2. Now, this magazine refers to it as car number 3, and the reason being is because this magazine is highlighting all of the cars that were used in the '05 movie. Well, for the '05 movie, they used this car as well, but they changed the number from 2 to 3. I don't know why, but all of the markings on the car now say number 3. It was actually car number 2, GL2, for General Lee, during the reunion movies. And I think there were only 3 or 4 cars used during the reunion movies. They used a lot more in the '05 movie. They wrecked a lot of cars. And luckily they didn't wreck this one. When the reunion movies were over, John took his car back. Warner Brothers saved 3 cars. And from what I understand, that's 2, 3, and 4, referring to this as 3. I really don't know what happened to car number 2. Supposedly it had a Hemi in it. Supposedly it was a very nice car. It was had a very similar pedigree as this car, but I've not read anything about it. I don't know who has it. You read a lot about other cars from the series, but when the Dukes of Hazzard TV series ended in 1985, it's my understanding that they sold off every single car that was used. And that was 17 cars. They're well documented. You can read on those 17 cars. I don't think there was a General Lee left behind. I could be wrong. They claim that car number 2 was used as far back as season number 3, which would have been 1982, and it was still used in the '05 movie. That's hard to believe. I'm not buying it. So I think the 17 that they sold off, that the registry had sold off after the series ended in '85, were the last of those cars. Since they went into the junkyards, they got wrecked cars and rebuilt those cars. There's a famous one that was sold to a golfer, and they call it General Lee number 1 because I believe that the facts show that this was the very first General Lee in like the pilot episode, because in the second episode they painted it kind of like the Richard Petty car, so it's pretty evident. But the pictures that I saw when they found it, there was nothing usable on that car. Nothing, maybe a frame. The frame was probably bent. It was a wrecked car. If they straightened the frame and they built practically a brand new car, I'm not sure that qualifies as a screen used car. That's just me. Everyone has a different opinion. I think these surviving cars are far more valuable and historic because the pedigree shows that it's a survivor, right? If I took the car down to the frame and I rebuilt the whole thing, it's not really the same car. Catherine Bach and Tom Wopat and John Schneider sat on these seats. They used these doors. They sat on this car. They slid across the hood. And this is the actual car. Now, I've done a lot to it since I got it because I'm going to tell you a little bit about the condition that I got it in. We talked a little bit in the Mopar guide about RDV. RDV is a mope drive vehicle. The other thing I mentioned was pre-cooter and post-cooter. So pre-cooter and post-cooter refer to the '05 movie. And in the '05 movie, at the beginning of the movie, the General Lee was like all run down and old and rusty, and it hardly even looked like the General Lee. And then shortly after the movie gets going, they take it to Cooter, and Cooter turns it back into the beautiful General Lee that we know and see here. So there were a few cars that were painted pre-Cooter. Unfortunately, I don't know. They used this General Lee as a pre-Cooter car in the '05 movie. So it didn't look anything like it did in the reunion movies. They painted it all rough and dull, and they painted rust on it. It actually wasn't rusty, but it looked like it was. They put brown smears all over the chrome. It had, old wheels on it that weren't the General Lee wheels. And so they used this car in the beginning of the '05 movie. I think they reshot some of the beginning scenes after they were done filming, which is maybe why the car was there early and then also stayed late as they were reshooting some of the beginning shots and the pre-Cooter shots. RDV, remote drive vehicle, they actually turned this car into a remote control car. And I don't know why, I talked to John Schneider about it, and his take is, I guess they can't act and drive at the same time. But they're not Bo and Luke Duke. They're just portraying Bo and Luke Duke. So they had a pod. They cut the roof, and they had a pod that looked a lot like a sprint car chassis, and they mounted that to the top of the car. Now there were two RDV vehicles. I believe the other one was number 13. And from the pictures I've seen, it was painted post-Cooter, so it looked more like the General Lee. But I cannot tell you how much work they put. When you open the hood, it was the craziest thing you'd ever seen. There were panels and wires, and I mean, this was crazy. Everything was plumbed from the hood and the steering and the brakes, and everything was plumbed to the roof with these cables, right? And then a stunt driver, and I want to say Kevin Scott, I might have read, who might have been the stunt driver in '05 who drove these pods, drove the car. So every time that you saw the actors driving the car and talking, and there was a close-up, that would be this car. And they actually were not driving. The steering wheel just went in circles. So when I got the car, it was in pre-Cooter paint, which did not look like the General Lee. It didn't run or move or start or anything because they just took the chassis off the roof. And so I had a non-running car that I got with this title. I also got a certificate of authenticity. And the certificate of authenticity was signed by a person by the name of Frank Majerski. Frank Majerski, that's the name on my certificate. We've been told not to show pictures of the certificate so that people don't copy them. So it's safe and sound. It says Warner Brothers Transportation as his title. I would imagine that, I have no idea if he was there during the reunion movies or the series. I don't know his history. I couldn't find anything online. And supposedly he's the same person who signed the certificate of authenticity to the initial 17 cars that the registry hadn't sold from the series. I don't know that for a fact. Maybe someone who has one of those 17 cars can tell me if that's the case, but supposedly it's the same person. So there are 17 original series General Lees that have a certificate of authenticity from Warner Brothers. And then there are 3 additional cars that were used in the reunion movies that also have a certificate of authenticity. I'm not sure if the other 2 cars have one. I requested one, and I received one from the person I got the car from, and we're going to discuss that, like I said, later. I promise I won't forget to tell you how I got the car. But at any rate, so I have a certificate of authenticity. I had a title to Warner Brothers. that proves it wasn't used in the series. Now, a couple people have said, well, maybe it was used in there was another movie after the '05 big screen movie. It was called The Beginning. It was supposedly before The Dukes of Hazzard. It's not very popular, but I did like it. It's a good movie. And we know for certain that this car was not used in that movie because it was painted pre-Cooter for the '05 movie, and it would have been repainted post-Cooter as the General Lee that we know now if it was used in a movie after '05. Okay, so there's a website, and I believe it's corn dogs, something or other, anyway, Corn Dog, whoever Corn Dog is, wrote on his website about the 3 cars that were used in the reunion movies and also in the '05 movie. So this was spectacular to find. I notice on his website that there are a couple of photos that I actually took of my car after I received it. So he must have reached out to me shortly after I got the car, and I must have sent him a few pictures because I really have never posted them anywhere. But they're significant in the pedigree of this car and what it was used for and what it wasn't. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I just wanted to go through his analysis of what the car was used for, and we'll see how accurate that is with the information that I have, okay?
Just say you're sorry, Luke!
No! We had a good time, and I'm not gonna apologize for that!
So let's take a look at Corn Dog's notes. During the reunion movie, the car was titled GL2, and we got that. And it's a '69 Charger, which I can assure you that it is because the title says 1969. I can also assure you that the panels are most likely the original quarter panels, because those were switched out quite frequently as cars were damaged. And because this was a hero car, in the movie they had puttied over the side markers. Besides the grille and possibly the taillights, I think that the side markers are the dead giveaway as to what year the car is. And so we had to dig the putty out, and when we did, we found that these side markers were definitely 69. It is possible that they had other 69 quarter panels and replaced them, but the car is pretty straight, and my thoughts are that these are the original quarter panels, and they are all 69 models along with the car. So number 2 would be considered the number 1 hero or close-up car, and we are talking strictly about the first reunion movie in 1997. It came out in 97. It was filmed 95, 96. So this was the nicest of the close-up driving scene cars. John Schneider drove this car a lot during filming. The car also had the cleanest engine bay. In the fast action scene where the Dukes and Cooter are fixing the General Lee in the garage, this is the car. If you watch carefully, you can see a lot of the parts that were used on the engine. And he posts some photos of the engine, and not just photos of the engine, but photos of the engine on screen while they were filming, close-ups from the actual movie. And you'll see that the engine here looks identical, right? And the engines were not identical. They never did the engines. They never matched engines. They used 440s, they used 360s, 383s, 318s. They used a bunch of different motors. None of them, no two motors looked alike. So in the reunion movie, when they open the hood, you could tell this motor looks exactly like what you see. Now, is it the exact motor that you see? I'm going to tell you that it's not. Because when I got the car, it did have a 318 in it, and it blew up at some point since I've had it. So I still have the motor. I still have the block. It needs to be rebuilt if anyone wants to rebuild it for us. But I have the original, I believe it's a numbers matching block to this car. But we dropped a 360 in it just so that we didn't have to pay to rebuild anything and wait for it to be rebuilt, and we just wanted to get it back on the road. But we put all the same accessories on this block, so it looks exactly, with some exceptions, to what it did when they filmed it in the movie. So you can see that it's the same. The characteristics that he has listed are narrow but a thicker 01, a standard 68 steering wheel with the horn ring, which we do have, even though we're missing the horn. Small block, we know. The chrome Moroso valve covers, which you see in the movie, which we still have on the car. The black engine bay with the bottom of the hood painted orange. That's key. They did not paint the underside of the hoods because there was no reason for them to paint the bottom or the underside of a hood. You rarely saw the engine bay in the Dukes of Hazzard, but in the 97 movie, when it was in Cooter's place, the hood is up, the engine's exact, and the bottom of the hood is painted. So same car we have here, the underside of the hood is painted orange, and 99% of other General Lees that were screen used, they never painted the bottom of the hood. So that's key. Orange painted upper grille, clean white washer jug on the right apron. All right, so that was the use of the car in the 97 reunion movie. It was probably this car's prime, right? It was used the most. John loved the car. He drove it frequently in the movie. We can pick certain scenes where it is extremely obvious that this is this particular car. A lot of the close-ups and when the Dukes were driving the car is this very car. Again, they only had, I think, 3 cars during filming, so significant amount of the reunion movie was used by the original cast. Catherine Bach and Tom and John, they used this car a lot. Now in the 2000 movie we mentioned earlier, John brought his own Charger to the set, and he used that significantly. So let's read what Corndog has on the 2000 movie. Again, it was referred to as GL2 in that movie as well. The appearance didn't change between 97 and 2000. This time, 2 nicer cars from 97 took a back seat to John Schneider's General Lee. The car was still a close-up hero car for the 2000 reunion movie. He doesn't have much more to say about the car. I'm assuming it's difficult to tell the difference between GL2 that we have here and John Schneider's car, but they were used interchangeably during the 2000 Hazzard in Hollywood movie, and the characteristics were the same. So after that, some time lapsed, and Warner Brothers decided they're going to do a new movie with a new cast, right? So a lot of people were upset about that. But Burt Reynolds was in it, and Willie Nelson, and Jessica. I mean, it was still star-studded, right? But it just wasn't the stars that we were used to seeing in the Dukes of Hazzard. So I think a lot of Gen Xers didn't care for it. It wasn't as family-friendly at all. But it's Dukes of Hazzard, and the General Lee is the General Lee, and they used this General Lee in that movie as well. Now there's a lot about the RDV, and I'm just going to read it. So the 05 movie, the car's title was changed from GL2 to GL003. So we've changed the number. That's how it's marked now, 3. It's on the dash. It has a number 3. It also has a number 3 along with RDV under the hood on the roll cage. And I don't see any remnants whatsoever from GL2, but from what we understand, that's the case. Okay, so 03 was first of 2 extremely elaborately constructed remote-driven vehicles. And these were heavily modified by special effects unit to mount a driver on top of the car's roof while leaving the rest of the car looking normal. We know that to be true. The car was in very nice condition until it was cut up for a massive amount of cage. And when 03 arrived in Baton Rouge, it was still wearing its Reunion General Lee paint job. That's key also. They did cut the roof off the car. They cut the roof off the car and they placed this platform on it. And when I got the car, again, it was repainted as post-cooter. I'm sorry, as pre-cooter. So what's significant is that you could still see the flag, the corners of the flag on the roof. So that's proof right there that they used it in the Reunion movie, because if they were going to paint it pre-cooter, there would be absolutely zero reason to paint it post-cooter first and put a flag on it and waste your time putting a flag on the roof and then cutting the roof off. Doesn't make any sense. So that flag was used in the Reunion movies and it was cut off of the car to put this platform for the 05 movie. So that we know to be true. I remember, now he's talking about the first time he saw the car in person. Apparently he was on the set during the 05 movie, because this is October 30th of 2004. At this time I wasn't aware that it was a screen-used General Lee. From the way it looked, I assumed the crew painted the car and applied the decals. Then the modifications began. I remember thinking to myself, why would they have gone through the trouble of putting a flag and lettering on the roof just to turn around and punch holes through it? If I only knew then what I know now, I would have snapped more pictures of it during that time. The car was still very original to the way it was during the Reunion movies, right? So that's what we talked about. That makes perfect sense. Sad, but perfect sense. 03 was the first of 2 RDVs that were completed. Being the first, a faded orange pre-cooter paint job was applied. All the mechanical systems on the car were operated via electrical and hydraulic connections to the roof. Custom-built driver's pod could be bolted on the roof in about an hour, and the systems all hooked up quickly. And there were 2 of these RDV vehicles. We talked about that briefly. I think the other was number 13, but there was only 1 driver's pod. So depending on which RDV vehicle they were using, they moved the pod from one car to the other. I did not receive the pod when I received the car. It was just the platform and the ends of all the hydraulic hoses. There was no pod, there was no seat on the roof, no steering wheel whatsoever. There was no way to steer the car. The only way you could steer the car when I got it was to get down there and manhandle those wheels. So it was tough to get. But anyway, it was caged heavily from the radiator core support back to the taillights. The wiring harness in this car were incredibly complicated. That's for sure. Another thing I remember seeing, and it's gone now, it faded away, and as time goes, some of these things disappear, so that's why I want to capture as much of it as I can. But there was a lot of writing under the hood, a lot of numbers. It was all in pencil, and just numbers. They were doing all sorts of mathematical equations. I'm sure they were discussing some pretty intense and integral stuff. Very intricate setup. And I should have taken a picture. There I am again, not saving anything. But they faded away since they were only in pencil. But I just remember a bunch of numbers being written on the core support and on the front of the radiator platform. But at any rate, there was a lot going on down there, and it was incredibly complicated. It had a very small fuel cell in the trunk, perhaps only 2 gallons. That's true. I since took that out. I was stopping at every single gas station once I got the car running. That was probably ran for 20 minutes in this car, and so I'm sure they were constantly filling it up. So I've since replaced it with a larger fuel cell. It's in the trunk, and it's probably 10 or 12 gallons now, so I can at least get I can at least skip every other gas station. But and you know what I did with the fuel cell when I took it out? You know, I threw it away along with a bunch of other stuff. As a matter of fact, there was a script in the car. I think I found it in the trunk, a script for the '05 movie. Some scenes were in there. Somebody was either practicing their scenes or somebody from the staff threw it in the car. Yeah, I threw that away too. There were water bottles, so when we got the car we were laughing because we figured, I think Jessica Simpson probably drank out of this bottle, you know, sell it on eBay. But anyway, we were just excited to get the car. We weren't really thinking clearly, and so a lot of the stuff I was just cluttering my space, and so I never sold any of it. I did toss a whole lot of pieces and parts off this car once I was able to get it running again, because it took a massive effort to get it from that RDV vehicle condition back to the way it looked like in the reunion films, which is what I really wanted to do. I wanted to drive what looked like the General Lee, not the pre-Cooter car from the '05 movie. So we had to make a lot of changes and get things back to the way they were in order for it to be even drivable, which it is drivable, right? We drove it today. So I wouldn't say I'm going to drive it to Massachusetts or anything, but it gets around, and we're able to show it at some car shows and things on occasion. People can enjoy the car. The cage was massive. The entire car was caged to protect the actors. In '05 movie, it wasn't that traditional roll bar that it had in the reunion movies. It was caged every inch of the trunk, the under the hood, the engine compartment, everything is caged. We cut a lot of that out of there. The car was so heavy. We were just trying to lighten it up, but we were careful because we didn't want to hack something that was holding it together and have the car fall apart. So we systematically cut all that roll cage out. Right now there's no roll cage in it at all. I could have replaced the roll bar that was in it during the reunion movie, but that's one of the things that I did not do, simply because it's just hard to use the back seat and move the seat forward and back. And actually, I think if you ask John Schneider, he did the same thing and removed the roll bar because it's just inconvenient. It looks cool. But anyway, not one in this car at this time. The other thing the pre-Cooter car didn't have was the push bar. So when I got the car, I believe I just randomly purchased a push bar and I installed it on this car. So the push bar is one of the few things that was not on the car when I got it and was not screen used. So the push bar, one of the few parts of the car that was not screen used. Of course, we re-skinned the roof, so that's not screen used either. But aside from that, everything else in this car was screen used. These were not the wheels they used on this car in the film, but these are screen used wheels. So when I purchased the car, pre-Cooter car didn't have General Lee wheels, and so I asked for a set. And so the wheels you see were on a different General Lee. I don't know which one. They were screen used. I put them on this car, but these wheels were not on this particular car. There was an enormous steel skid plate mounted under the car, which completely shielded the engine and transmission. Oh boy, is that true. I am laying into the car and I'm unbolting this skid plate, And when that thing let go, I was flat as a pancake. And I remember being there all by myself that day. I don't know what I was thinking, but I could barely get out from under. I don't know, it seemed like it was 3 inches thick. It might have only been an inch, but it was heavy. And that thing came down, and I just kind of squeezed myself out from under there. And again, that skid plate, yep, went to be recycled, gone, along with all of the roll cage pieces. Little did I know later, they were selling little bottles of the sand that they would put in the trunk. They put sandbags in the trunk of the car when they would jump them so that they wouldn't end up too bad, and the rear end would float and the car would land easier. And they were selling those for I don't know how much. It was just a little vial of sand. So I can imagine what I could have probably eventually sold, the fuel cell and the roll bars and all this kind of stuff. Even Jessica's water bottle. Anyway, let's see what else he has to say. There were airbags at all 4 corners, front and rear sway bars, coil-over shocks all the way around. And the car had Willwood 11-inch disc brakes on all 4 corners with 2 calipers per rotor. And that's still on the car. All of that is true. The car had somewhat shaggy black interior. It was used quite a bit during early filming in 2004. The car was used for low-speed driving scenes where it was desired to show the actors within the car while allowing the camera to pan around the car and show that it was being driven and was not a conventional McRig car. So when you see shots of the actors in the car, it's moving. The camera pans back or around to show them inside a rolling driving car. Notice you'll only see the car from the roof down, and those scenes were done using these remote drive vehicles. If it's the pre-Cooter version of the car, that's this car you see here. Interestingly, neither RDV car had Charger taillights. Both 03 and 13 used plain aftermarket trailer type taillights in the large openings for brake lights, which indicated no footage was used from behind the vehicle. And not interesting enough, I can tell you exactly why that was the case. That's because they roll caged the trunk, and the roll bar went all the way along the back of the trunk, and I realized when I got the car that there was actually no way to put taillights in it. You couldn't. They wouldn't fit in there. So I think after they put the roll bar in the trunk and went to go put the taillights in, they went, oh crap, they don't fit because the roll bar's in the way. So they used some trailer lights for brake lights on these cars. So another thing that is not screen used would be my taillights, because I had to go buy taillights and we had to cut the roll cage out of the trunk, and now we have working taillights. So that is true. These were extremely heavy cars. Oh yes, that's true too. The cages and shielding, they were built on very solid chargers. This is a solid car, it is for sure. And the empty weight of this car was reported to be 6,800 pounds. Wow. I don't know if that's true. I didn't weigh the car. It weighs less than that now, but it is still a heavy boat. And it's kind of like driving an old Cadillac down the road. It's still significantly heavier than a stock Charger for sure. Filming wrapped up in 2004. In December, it remained parked in the back of the effects building throughout January. While parked, 2003 was being robbed for parts to keep the other RDV on the set. January 25, the driver's seat was out. The hood was up and it looked like a number of small components were missing under the hood. During many trips to the lot on the first week in February of 2003, the first week of February 2003 was missing. A number of components, such as the airbag, shocks, and suspension components, were lying around the effects shop workbenches. 13 suspension was badly damaged following the bottom out incident. 03 was rushed over to the paint booth and repainted again in post-Cooter colors. The fresh tan interior out of 13 was swapped into 03, and when they finished filming, in the place of GL13 was placed on a local storage warehouse, and went out of view for the remainder of filming. I don't believe any of that to be true. I don't think that's accurate information. I think he had every intention of giving some accurate information. I don't know for sure. Supposedly this person was on the set and I was not.
Good.
But if they repainted it post-cooter, which is how it looks now, I can't imagine that they would repaint it in pre-cooter at the end of filming. I got it in pre-cooter state. I believe the car was used for pre-cooter filming only during the 05 movie, and I don't think it was ever a post-cooter car. I don't believe it was a post-cooter RDV vehicle, and I don't believe that they interchanged or swapped interiors, because the interior that I got when I received the car was indeed black. Pre-cooter interior was black. Now, it was painted black. It was a tan interior, and they just took the spray gun and they painted the whole thing black. And so I covered the seats. Now, these are the screen used seats. They're the same seats that were in the car. The seats were not missing. They were in the car when I got them, and they were simply spray painted black. So I used the same seats and reskinned them in the tan because, again, when I got the car, I wanted it to look like it did in the reunion films with the original cast, like the General Lee is supposed to look. So the upholstery on the seats, not screen used. As a matter of fact, it enabled me to do a little custom work to the seats too. So anyway, we customized and I brought it back to a tan interior. So the door panels are not screen used, although I don't think you ever saw door panels in the movie anyway. But we painted the dash and made it tan like it was in the reunion films. All right, February 10th of 05, this is the last bit he has. The 03 was parked near the effects building. The driver pod was removed as well as both doors. It appeared that a number of parts had been taken off the car. On February 16th, the car left Baton Rouge for California, still minus its doors. There was barely enough room on the car hauler for 03, and he hung off the rear of the trailer with a red flag on the bumper in early May 05. Eli Popov reported that 03 literally rolled off the back of the trailer, suffered major rear end suspension damage, and had severe damage to both quarter panels. 03 was intended to do green stage filming in California, but since the incident, number 13 was repainted pre-cooter and filled in. I think they mixed up some cars because I did not get the car with any rear end damage whatsoever. I think there was a dent in one rear quarter panel that we popped right back out. There were doors. It wasn't painted post-cooter. It was painted pre-cooter. So at some point during this reminiscing about the car and its history, I think this person mixed up two cars, because the photo that he shows of the car hanging off the trailer with the red flag is painted post-cooter. And again, I got 03 with the same VIN number in pre-cooter paint with doors and no rear end damage. So this is online. Again, you can't believe everything that you see online. And so I think a lot of this is true. I think we can use it. But again, the car wasn't damaged. It wasn't robbed of too many parts. It certainly wasn't robbed of interior parts. The seats were in it. The doors were on it. The rear end wasn't damaged. So somewhere along here, we got mixed up. But that's okay. It's all good information. And maybe some of you have more information to add. But let's talk about what changes I did do to the car. So let's talk about that. So I tried to make it look as much like it did in the reunion films as I could. And I told you I cut a lot of bits and pieces off the car. But I left these two mounts that you see on the side. And I can't say for sure what they're used for. It looks to me like they would slide some sort of platform and have either a camera mounted or someone on a mount. But I was afraid to remove those. I didn't want to take too many pieces and parts off the car. I wasn't sure if it was going to fall apart or not. So it's kind of fun to see these little posts that are underneath the car, and people go, oh yeah, the camera was mounted there or something. So it was used for something, but it certainly wasn't in the reunion films. In the reunion films, it was just a Dodge Charger painted like the General Lee, and John and Tom took the car and drove it, and that's all it was. This panel you see under the hood is significant because this is the only place that I've been able to find the original paint from the reunion movie. This paint here was untouched during the 2005 movie. And this is where I found a lot of the notes. You can see the 2003 marking that was changed from GL2 to 2003 for 2005. But this panel has the original General Lee paint, and I left it untouched for that very reason, so I had one place where we had original paint. But again, the car came in pre-Cooter shape, so it was painted dull. You can see here in the door jambs that this is what the car looked like for the most part when I got it, and it was really, really ugly. And it was meant to be ugly. And so I left the door jambs. That's the 2005 movie. Under the hood, this panel is the reunion movie paint. Aside from that, I put a fresh coat of paint so it looked like the General Lee. I have no idea what the actual color is. I think they mix-matched a bunch of orange colors. I spent more time when I got the car trying to bring it back to its original state than anything else. I think, its claim to fame, its historic pedigree, its Hollywood pedigree really stems from those reunion movies when it was used by the original cast. There's only the 17 plus the 3. There's only 20, really, in the world. There's only 20 of these surviving General Lees that were used by the original cast. In my estimation, give or take a car or two here and there. But that's an extremely rare number, 20. Now, there were only three cars on the planet that were used by both casts in the big screen and the small screen. Only 3. There's only one car that was used as a hero car in the reunion movies and was used as a stunt vehicle, RDV, remote drive vehicle, in the 2005 movie. One car on the planet, that's this car right here. No other General Lee has the same pedigree. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars turning this car into a remote drive vehicle. It has to have been the most expensive General Lee ever built and not wrecked. It's extremely rare. And, you put a picture of your car, you put it on social media, and someone's, that's not a real car, it's not a real General Lee. Any car that was screen used, I'm going to tell you right now, is a real General Lee. If it was used in a commercial, if it was driven by John, if it was in the 2005 movie, it was owned by Warner Brothers, it was used on screen, and it's a part of Dukes of Hazzard history, regardless. Now, you certainly prefer something used by the original cast that was used on the small screen. And that's what's so spectacular about this car. The battery was in the trunk, so I put it back in under the hood. I took the white, there was a white water bottle we talked about, and we took that out so that we could put in a horn. There were never horns in the General Lee. That was just done in the studio after. But every General Lee has to have the Dixie horn, so we put it in, we took the white jug out. Keeping in mind that now there's a roll cage under the hood. I did not remove that. It's still there from the '05 movie, and you can see where it says RDV on there. You can see the serial number that's stamped in the crossbar, and I think the air cleaner, I think we changed out the air cleaner, but otherwise it looks pretty much like it did in the '97 movie. And I'll tell you that, some people, they complain about, upkeep on the car, and you shouldn't paint it, and you shouldn't touch it, and you shouldn't do anything to it. But we are talking about decades. We're talking about 30, 40, 50 years ago. And these cars, they deteriorate. And if you want to keep the car looking and acting and driving, then you're going to have to replace things. There's no doubt. There is a significant more amount of rust on the car now than when I first got it. There was no rust, essentially. But you got to cut out panels. You got to replace them. You got to, you got to do mechanical stuff to it. So it's really hard to keep it original. And people are like, you should leave it, because it's historic. Well, it'll just be a piece of lawn art. I think it's important to drive. I think it's important to upkeep so that people can enjoy this car and it's still around even when we're not. So, to each their own. If you have a real General Lee, you do whatever you want with it, right? It's your car. So I chose to revert it back to the reunion movies, and most of the stuff is just like it, but those were some of the items that were different from the '05 movie. So in my day, having the car, I've been lucky enough to meet basically all of the stars from the original TV series, including Sorrel Book, who I met in 1981 before his passing. On that same day, I actually met Catherine Bach for the first time, and I was still quite young, as were they, or at least Catherine was. So that's a fabulous picture that, guess what? I can't find. So I don't know. I met her in 1981. I can't prove it, but I'm trying to be as honest as I can here about the car and what it was used for and what it wasn't. But I do have a picture of my brother with her. Back then, no one had a phone. You didn't have a phone. You had to take an actual picture. You had to ask somebody to take it for you. You had to take it to Kmart and have it developed. So it was a lot harder to obtain pictures than it is today. So I think I took a picture of my little brother with her, and I have that. But the picture that someone took of me with her, I have no idea where that is. But I do have a picture with Sorrel. I've met the rest of the group. They have signed the car. I've spent the most time with John Schneider and Catherine Bach. This is all post Dukes of Hazzard filming, but I spent some time with both Catherine and John at, I think it was the National Roadster Show, where we displayed this car while they signed autographs. So my family was quite young. I was quite young. They were quite young. And so that was one of the first times I had some significant time to spend with them. Later, there was a local parade, and John brought his car, the same car that we were talking about earlier, who was referred to as Bo's General Lee. And he brought that car, and I had a replica Roscoe car. And so I was in the parade with him, and I followed him through the parade with his General Lee. And we spent quite a bit of time. If you've ever been in a parade, you sit there for quite a while. So I had a real good amount of time, really, just to talk and take some pictures and chat with him, because there was a lot of downtime at the parade, and there was really no one else around. They were all cordoned off, so it was just kind of me and him, which was fun. And then I helped him put the car back in his trailer. That was the last time I ever saw Bo's General Lee. I think he sold it after that. But at that point, I hadn't actually gotten this car yet. So that's an interesting part, is that his car and my car were partners for quite some time. and they played similar roles. And so only later did I actually get this car, which I have brought to a number of events and things as such. But I saw him at Frankenson's at another event, which was fun because I had a Charger Steve shirt and I had a Bo Duke shirt on, and he agreed to wear my shirt and I wore his shirt, and it was really cool. And we took pictures together, and he's wearing a Charger Steve shirt and I have a Bo Duke shirt. So we've shared some time together. Everybody on the cast, super nice if you've never met them, which you can't say about all stars, but super, super nice. I've been with Catherine a couple of times. Most recently, we were invited to bring the car to John's wedding party. And he married Dee Dee. And so we brought the car to the wedding party, and we were invited. So we got to sit in on the wedding party and have champagne and take some additional pictures. Of course, he was quite busy, but Catherine was there also. So that was as recent as 2024. So we stay in touch and our paths cross on occasion.
Dear friends of ours are here to help celebrate. The car is here to help celebrate, and that's wonderful. Steve brought it in. I think it was around a 4-hour drive for them to bring the car in, so it's really great. Remember, there were a lot of parts. I know. So there is no General Lee. This is a General Lee.
Okay, how did I get the car? How did I get it? I promised I would tell you how I got the car. As you know, I was a big Dukes of Hazzard fan. And I moved to California in 1999, and I started a small pest control company. And I would drive through alleys and behind shopping centers and all sorts of places where I'm going to do pest control. And I'm driving down an alley in San Diego, and there's a guy outside. He's got the hood up, and it's a 69 Charger. I wasn't 100% sure what it was because I, at the time, wasn't a huge car guy or even a Charger or Mopar guy, but I did recognize the car, and it looked like the car from the Dukes of Hazzard. So I stopped, and I asked him, I said, "Is this a 69 Charger?" And he said, "It is. You want to buy it?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. How much do you want?" And he said, "Go to the bank and bring me $1,000 and it's yours." And I said, "I'll be right back." And so what was happening, and the reason why he was outside, was that the car wasn't running. And the police had come a number of times and ticketed him and told him that you can't have non-running cars in the alley. They have to be running cars. This isn't storage. And they would give him a hard time, and he would have to start the car and prove that it was running. And he was getting tired of doing that. His mother bought the car brand new in 1969. As a matter of fact, I still spray their house to this day, and I still talk to them. This was in, I want to say, right around 01 or 02. So I brought him the $1,000 for sure. I brought the car home. I took the whole thing apart. I never took a car apart. I had no idea what I was doing. I put each item in a plastic bag and labeled it. That's what people said to do. They said, put these bolts in there and put windshield wiper bolts and then write that on the bag, and then you'll know where everything goes when you put it back together. So I took the whole car apart. I had these bags. The car was outside and it rained. These were not permanent markers. everything I wrote on these bags washed away. And I had bags. I didn't have any idea where these parts went. No idea how to put it back together. So ultimately, I ended up taking it to the shop, and it took a few years. And for those of you that have built cars, you know that 2 or 3 years is probably a quick build. So anyway, I made a beautiful General Lee. The numbers and the lettering were all hand painted. It was beautiful. It had a little speckle in the paint and a beautiful car. And I was so excited I would take it to car shows. I would display all my star-studded autographs and photos and just was ecstatic. And I went to an all Mopar show. It was called, I believe, Spring Fling. And this is up in the Orange County or LA area. I don't even remember. I never went back. But I took it many years ago. And I didn't know anybody there, which I'm somewhat of a local celebrity here, I'll tell you, even though I don't feel like one. But a lot of people know who I am here. So to go to a car show and not know anybody was strange. But there was one person I recognized from San Diego. And we said hi, we chatted, and then I went about my business and looked at cars. And, you know, later that day, he came back to me and he said, "Can you give me a ride home?" And I thought to myself, I could. Why do you need a ride home? You brought your car. He goes, "Someone just walked up to me and paid me cash for my car, and I sold it. Couldn't turn it down." Wow, okay, sure. He said, "I just have to follow the guy and drop it off. He's only a couple miles away. If you're okay with that, we'll drop off the car, and then if you don't mind following and giving me a ride home, that would be great." I said, sure. At this point, I was like, okay, this is getting to be kind of a lot of work, but I guess I'll do that for you. So I followed him, and he was following the guy who bought his car, and we get to this huge gate, and this thing's massive. And this gate starts opening. We drive inside. Now keep in mind, I'm driving a mint, a beautiful General Lee, right? I'm driving the General Lee. I'm excited as could be about this car, new build. And I pull into this place and I am looking at, gotta be thousands of cars. There's an entire police station. There's a military. There's school buses. There's fire department. There's rows and rows of cars. It looked like Walmart parking lot, but bigger. Tons of cars, all kinds of cars. I'm thinking to myself, where am I? We go through and around and we come to a building. I get out, we go in the building, there's movie posters everywhere. It is a nice building. I'm still not really putting 2 and 2 together. Where am I? I have my General Lee parked outside. This is a secure facility. And I guess we go into the office, and this guy's name is Ray. His name is Ray Claridge. I find this out later. He gets the keys, the title, all that good stuff. He needed another car. He had thousands of cars as it was. And he goes, "Let me take you on a little tour." And I'm like, okay, where are we touring to? He takes us through the facility. We go in the back. There's semi-trucks full of Herbies. There's Starsky and Hutch cars lined up, smashed. There's cars everywhere. We go in a building and there's police car lights just stacked to the roof, aisles and aisles of lights. We get into the paint booths and there's the General Lees. And there's 69 Chargers in all different sorts of disarray. And they're in the paint booth, and some are sanded and some are painted. And I'm like, what is going on? And he said, we're making a Dukes of Hazzard movie. And this was probably 04. And I'm freaking out now. I'm like, no way. He goes over and he takes a license plate off the car and gives it to me. because obviously I drove in a General Lee, so he knew exactly that my jaw was going to drop when I walked in there. He gave me the plate. Where's the plate? I have no idea. No idea. I lost it. I lost everything. But I still got the car. But at any rate, he was a super nice guy. And I said to him, I said, Ray, if these cars ever come up for sale, you call me. You call me. I want a real General Lee. Well, at the same time, he had somebody working for him whose name was Bob. And this was Bob Hartwig, and he worked at this place called CVS, Cinema Vehicle Services was the name of the place where I was. So now I'm freaking out with this guy in my car. Oh my God, I can't believe. I mean, we saw, you know, the Cobra from Gone in 60 Seconds. We saw this huge collection. He showed us Marilyn Monroe's Cadillac and Burt Reynolds' Trans Am. And I mean, he had everything in there. It was immaculate. I hope I still have some pictures. I'll post them. You guys can be looking at some of this stuff. And so I kept in touch with his employee, Bob, who was also a car collector, who had one of the very original, one of the 17 General Lees, which he had since sold. And I know he sold it for $250,000. He sold that car for $250,000. Now keep in mind, this is long ago, maybe, I'm not sure when he sold it, but it's been many, many years. So you can imagine what these cars are worth, as rare as they are. I mean, this is one-of-a-kind General Lee, and things cost more now than they did back then. So some people ask me what the car is worth. I don't really know what this car is worth, but it's worth a lot. Probably. So at any rate, I kept in touch with Bob, and I visited there quite frequently, and I brought some of my friends to show him the place, you know, over a period of months and years, and so that he would remember me and not forget to call me when these cars come up for sale. And it was 2008, and my phone rang, and it was Bob, and he said, well, today's your lucky day. These cars are going up for sale. And I have a special one because this one was used in the reunion movies with the original cast as well as the 05 movie. I'm giving you your choice. He had, I think, 5 or 6 of them. He also had, I think, one of the Mustangs. He had a couple of the other cars that were used in the movie. And he purchased them at an auction. Now, I've been trying to make this video for many, many years. I remember 15 years ago trying to make this very video. I drove it back and forth at my, you know, old property, and we were gonna make this video. I attempted to make it myself a million times, and I can't find any of the footage. I'm sure at this point that doesn't surprise you at all, but I actually went back to Bob's place, which at that time, later CVS closed and Bob started his own movie Machines, I think it's called. But at any rate, I went back to interview him, and I found out, I think he didn't realize what he was saying, but during the interview, even though I can't find the interview now, that he purchased these cars for about $5,000. And so I will tell you what I paid for it. I never told people in the past because it sounded like a lot of money for a pile of junk. But he sold it to me for $40. So he was making $35 or $30 on each of these, which I think enabled him to really open this business. It certainly helped, right? But you know, he was in the right place at the right time. As far as I'm concerned, I was in the right place at the right time, and knowing them and keeping in touch with them was a good thing. And so I don't feel bad about that at all. In order to get it running and back in this condition, I think I put about $15,000 in it. So the car cost me about $55. So if it is worth $250, I still make a couple of bucks on it. And anyway, that's the story. And that was 2008. I think I had it on the road by 2010 which is, John dated his signature, which was awesome. So that was 2010 when I took it to the Roadster show with Catherine and stuff. So that timeline all makes sense. And since then, I've just been tinkering. I put a stereo in it. And that's not really working right now, but that was one of the things that I did do. None of that was from the movie, but I wanted to have good tunes, right? And just try to keep the thing on the road. But hopefully, I think here it belongs in a museum. There's been discussions about the flag. Oh, what'd you do with the flag? And did you take the flag off? And there was a time there where things were kind of heated when they took the Dukes of Hazzard off TV, which is still not back on TV, which is crazy. But I remember some museums and some facilities not allowing me to bring it at that time, which just really frustrated me. I wouldn't change the car. It was the car from the movie. It was the car from the TV show. That's how the car was when it was on TV. So I have no intentions of changing it. I don't think anyone with a General Lee changes it. I certainly don't look to offend anybody. So if some symbol or emblem or flag offends somebody, that's a shame. Different things mean different things to different people. And if someone's upset, everybody has a right to be upset. But I wouldn't change it because that's Hollywood pedigree. It's just like going to a museum. Let's say you go to an airplane museum and you see a Japanese fighter jet. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, that's not good. We didn't like those. But we still want to see them, right? The Japanese emblem might offend me, or a swastika might offend me. But it's history, and I still want to see it in museums, so there's no reason why the General Lee shouldn't be in a museum, and sometimes it is. So anyway, that's the story about the car. I feel free to chime in. This is as accurate of information as I really could come up with. There's probably some things I forgot. Maybe I'll add some things to some notes. Or anyway, the doors aren't welded shut. I'll tell you that. John will tell you that too. No reason to weld the doors shut. And thank goodness, because I'm too old to climb through the window now.